All right, let's go ahead and get started. I want to start off by saying thanks so much for taking time out of your busy schedules and joining us today. My name is Jess, and I'm the marketing manager here at Indexed.io. If you have any questions throughout the webinar, just place them in the chat window and we'll answer them at the end. We will also be recording this, and the link to the recording will be included in the follow-up email. So I'm sure it's no secret to any of you that the legal world is facing many challenges with electronic discovery. Challenges like data accessibility, scalability, management, and overwhelming costs. And these challenges are the exact reason Index.io was created. We took the latest technologies and made the most comprehensive e-discovery tool in the industry. So what's so special about us? Well, Index.io is a true do-it-yourself intuitive platform, meaning you can get up and running in minutes without ever talking to a sales rep or even utilizing a project manager. We also cut traditional processing times from days to minutes with our auto scale technology. Need to fire up Index.io on the go? No problem. We offer a free mobile iPad app that is easy, intuitive, and secure. You can literally review, code, redact, and organize your e-discovery documents no matter where you are. Index.io is also the only e-discovery solution that provides a daily hosting model. So what does this mean? Well, it means you have more predictable billing, easier project management, and no minimum hosting charges. There are also no long-term restricting contracts, no licensing fees, no user fees, and no minimums per month. And now for the main event. For today's presentation, we'll be talking with Guy at one of our premier partners, Tape Ark. You'll learn how they partner with Index.io's platform, specifically when it comes to handling unconventional data formats and tape data storage and conversion. Austin, our support representative here at Index.io, is going to lead this discussion for you today. Austin?
All right. Thanks for that intro, Jess, and thanks again to Guy for joining us today. Guy, can you start off and just give us a quick overview of Tape Ark? Tell us what the company's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Guy Holmes, the founder and CEO of Tape Ark. The purpose of Tape Ark, the business that we created, was specifically designed around liberating the world's second largest collection of data, which is the data that's currently stored on tape in offsite storage vaults. That's typically where a lot of the data from e-discovery will come from, is the historical backups, and we're here to liberate that content and make it useful.
All right. And so you said you were the CEO of the company. You're one of the founders? Correct. How long's the company been around?
Well, I started a company in 2003, which I subsequently sold, and then I moved on. This is my fifth company, and we started this particular iteration of our vision about 2.5 years ago.
About 2.5 years ago. Okay. And what's the big problem you're trying to solve for your clients? You're taking this unconventional data stored on tapes, and then where does it go? What are you doing with it?
Well, look, in the main, companies have been backing up to tape. It's the primary backup medium since about the 1950s. And with the continued reduction in costs of cloud storage, the economics to put your data into the cloud, as opposed to leaving it in a vault, have done an inversion. So in many cases, it's cheaper to store the volume of data you have on your tape in the cloud where it's accessible, over just leaving it in a vault. So our goal is to liberate that content, get the customers off of needing to maintain legacy systems in case they need to do a restore, and make it accessible to tools like Index.io.
Okay. And these tapes, typically, I guess they're being stored in, like you said, vaults, just big storage units of these things. How much data is on like an average tape?
Well, some of the collections we're looking at, there's one collection that we're working on at the moment that's 6 million tapes. Approximately 2.5 million of those are ranged from the 1970s to the 1990s, and then the rest are 1990 plus. They vary from 200 megabytes of tape through to 8 terabytes of tape, so they vary considerably.
Yeah, wide range in data sizes there.
Yeah, and backup formats and media types. So in order to restore a collection like that, you need to have about 15 different tape drives, and you need to have a lot of them to be able to 6 million tapes. It's several years' work for an average company to try and read in 6 million tapes.
I see. So you're taking this archaic format, these tapes that have data on them, converting it, turning it into something usable, indexing it, making it easily accessible for your user. Is that a good overview?
Yeah, the core benefits that we're trying to achieve for customers is A, accessibility, and B, the ability to I guess what we call bring the tools to the data as opposed to bringing the data to the tools, which is how it used to be. You'd install an application on your machine in your office, then you'd go assemble the data and bring it to your machine and ingest it. With these collections now reaching into the multi-petabytes, you don't really want to have to move the data. So what we see is, for instance, in the email space, we may restore somebody's Exchange servers and put that email in the cloud, and then bring indexed.io to it, where it can address the S3 bucket in Amazon and process the content. And then when they're done, they can leave their data where it is and remove indexed.io if they don't want to use it anymore. And they've managed both the migration and an e-discovery project in one hit.
Awesome. Sounds like a pretty powerful process. What does that process look like, going from, you have a tape with emails on it, you convert that, I assume somehow you read the tape, get it into a format, and then load that up into index.io. What does that process look like? Around how long does that take, and what kind of formats might we see with some of that data?
Okay, so we start off most projects with a very similar workflow. The first thing we do is we get the tapes picked from offsite storage. We bring them into the office. They're each, or into the operations center here. They're each have a QR code attached to them, which is very specific to a customer's project. They're photographed on all angles so that we capture an exact replica in photography of the outside of the tape, including any label information that's been written on them by hand. That's useful for identifying the tape at a later date, and also for chain of custody or e-discovery relevance if somebody wants to know where this data actually originated from. In that audit process of photography and barcoding, we also do what we call a quick read, which is we read the very beginning of the tape and the very end of the tape in less than a minute, and we eject the tape. We use the statistics drawn from that to determine how big the contents of the tape are, and then we can tell the customer what their cloud footprint will look like once we've liberated the content, so that they won't get any shock in terms of sheer footprint data. Once we go ahead to move that into the cloud, we then, using our own proprietary tools, will strip data out of formats like Net Backup and TSM and HP Data Protector as we read the tapes, and that will go to our local disk cache. Because we partner with Seagate Technology, we have essentially an unlimited disk cache here in the multi-petabyte range.
Wow.
And once we've reformatted the data to the desired format for index.io to pick it up, we then transfer that data to the cloud, either using a dedicated pipe or a transfer device from one of the cloud providers. Quite often it is email mixed with unstructured data like Word documents and spreadsheets and so forth. And if they're EDBs from Exchange, we'll convert those to PSTs and send the PSTs up for index.io to process.
Gotcha. And then once it's up, it's all indexed and categorized in our system. You can search it, access the data in a much more easy to use format. So then what led you guys to integrating with index.io for this kind of end part of that process?
Well, a reasonable percentage of the inquiries that we get through the business for tape ingest is related to a legal matter. And we really wanted to be able to provide an end-to-end solution to customers where they send us the tapes, and then the next day they've got an interface that they can use to browse their content and with their with their legal matter. Um, but then I did start to look at the use of indexed IO outside of the outside of the legal sector, and found the workflow that indexed IO deploys to be quite useful for a whole range of other industries.
So it's expanded a bit since there. How many different people at your company are using indexed IO or have worked with it?
We're a relatively new partner of indexed IO, so we were made an advanced partner, or whatever the terminology is, with you guys only about 2 months ago. And right now there are 4 ongoing projects.
4 ongoing projects. Awesome.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite feature that you've seen in the platform so far? Something that really stood out as unique or just really efficient, something cool?
Well, look, the work that it does with email in terms of how it displays the communication connections between different parties. It's a great graphic in terms of how it displays it, and it's a pretty unique way to drill into the content. But to be honest, we've been working with you guys on some very specialized formats as well that maybe people in the legal sector haven't seen that much of. And you guys have done a great job of decoding a couple of unusual formats that are really adding a lot more value to our indexes that we're doing for companies outside the e-discovery space. So, it's just super intuitive. So the whole thing is pretty good. But I do like the email communication chain.
All right, excellent. And you guys are a fairly new partner. I know we've been working with you pretty closely. What's your experience been like with our customer support like that? You getting quick responses? Have you taken a look at any of the tutorial or kind of ancillary information that we make available to the users?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I personally have dedicated myself to interacting with the indexed IO system. Because I wanted to get a feel for how it worked. And with some companies, you'll use their tool, and there'll be days or weeks of silence between your usage and communications with the customer. And then there's other companies that find a really nice balance of notifying you by email of particular triggers and important events, and otherwise touching base with you verbally. And you guys meet the balance of keeping the system keeping me informed of what it's doing as it's processing content, and also contacting me when I reach out for some technical advice. So super awesome stuff from Austin and yourself in terms of helping us out.
Yeah, that's great to hear. We try to keep our any tickets that come in. We try to keep our first response time under an hour. And like you said, there's a lot of notifications. You don't have to sit and monitor your project and make sure, like, okay, now this processing's done, I'm going to kick off the next one. It all queues it all up for you, sends you email alerts, makes it really easy to manage.
Yeah, I might have gotten a bit annoying with you guys, actually, because I kept calling saying, will it tell me when this is done, or will it tell me when that's finished? of course it does. It does automatically do that. So I'm getting a really good feel for the system. So yeah,
Awesome.
It's great.
Well, what advice might you give to anyone considering our product or considering your company for like a tape project?
In my view, we've been in this space for years, and we have looked at other parties, and my company in particular, and from what I've seen, it seems that Indexed.io is largely the same. We're sort of using some of the mantras that the large cloud providers provide, like Amazon, where they're customer obsessed. They're always looking for ways to make things cheaper. It's use on demand, not something you have to license for long periods of time to get a job done. The demo system is fully functional as far as I can tell. I can't tell any difference between the demo version and the full version. So it's great to be able to trial the product for a period of time without and get a really good feel for it. So yeah, I think Index.io's just does everything we want, and it's cloud based, which is super important for us. We're really cloud centric.
Yeah, especially for an international team, having access from anywhere at any time, I'm sure that makes a big difference. And like you said, the trial project, we've gotten great feedback on that. There is one restriction in that you can't export data back out of the system until you activate it, and I think there's a 5 gigabyte limit on data that you can add. But other than that, anyone who signs up for a new account gets that free trial project. You can add data, search it, add new users, review everything. It's very powerful. So anybody considering it, definitely
Also,
take a look.
matter
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say I recently imported some scanned documents, which were actually printed copies of emails between parties that were printed. It recognized them as emails and added them to the email communication feed, and I was pretty impressed that it actually recognized those and stuck them in the right spot automatically. So there's some super good features in there.
Yeah, it tries to be very smart about the data that comes in, and quite a lot of stuff happens at processing. Create PDFs, dedupe your data, we run OCR on applicable files. It really just runs everything it possibly can up front to give you those resources.
Yeah, so look, I think the fastest way to get into an e-discovery project is probably, well, is the combination of Tape Ark to extract it and go to virtually immediately triggers off the indexing process, and it's ready, depending on the volume of data, very, very quickly. So if you're in a hurry to get to some targets in your email content, it's a really powerful collaboration that we've got going.
All right, excellent. Well, that's all the questions that I've got for you. Thanks again for taking some time to talk to us. I'll hang around for a little bit to answer any questions that anyone has. And we hope we see some new signups. And if you have any questions, anyone watching, feel free to reach out to our support team at support@index.io, or give our live support call. That number is available on the sidebar once you get into the platform.
Okay, well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yep, absolutely.
Right.